Hey, yo everybody, welcome back to game number 2, the jDL Best of 2 German Division 3.2 matchup between WinTrain and Project Final. Game 1, I don't think the scoreboard really did the game justice. It was actually a lot closer than it probably looked. But regardless, Project Final started off ahead and continued to push ahead, and were able to secure a very well fought victory. As WinTrain going to be on the Dire this time, we're going to flip sides, flip draft order, and WinTrain first pick, Dire side, Project Final, second pick, Radiant side. So we'll have to see how teams look to twist things up. Earth Spirit was the first pick here for WinTrain. We'll have to see if Project Final looks to respect that, or if they decide to just go with something else. Go with the Elder Titan, which I believe was their second ban last match. But WinTrain going to ban out the Ricky Maru as well as the Tinka. And Faceless Void going to be removed. Was actually their hero last game, so just feel like it's certainly first pick material, and are going to take that out, as well as the Lion. The Demon Witch will not be picked today, as Disruptor actually going to be the first choice here from WinTrain. And again, we're seeing a bit of a surprising draft order. Shadow Demon going to be immediately picked up here for Project Final, and would not be surprised to see that followed by a Terrorblade. Was nerfed, had his mana costs upped a little bit, especially in Metamorphosis, which does hurt him decently. His strength gain, I believe, was also taken down a notch, but instead they're going to actually pick up the Beastmaster, Tidehunter, the immediate response from WinTrain. Tidehunter, really good hero. Disruptor actually is probably the best hero to counter it. And so we'll have to see, how WinTrain works around that. Obviously setting up for a potential pick composition as well as decent team fight. Static Storm, Ravage, obviously both good team fighting spells. Beastmaster, however, kind of the top dog in competitive Dota for quite a while now, at least 3 patches ever since the introduction of the offlane large camp, and even before then was being picked up occasionally as a support. So potential flex pick coming out here from Project Final is Terrorblade and Luna going to be banned out. So both, just illusion-based cores, not too surprising from WinTrain. Meanwhile, Slark going to be removed, Vengeful Spirit picked up by Project Final, securing Beastmaster as an offlaner, and Elder Titan also going to be removed from the pool. So Vengeful Spirit with the Shadow Demon, a little bit interesting, little bit passive coming out from these 2 of 3 picks from Project Final. Shadow Demon, obviously very passive, has the ability to farm up decently quickly with Shadow Poison, but generally speaking, sort of held off as a 5 support in most compositions. Vengeful Spirit, about the same. It's nice if you get a Blink Dagger, nice if you get an Aether Lens, Aghanim Scepter, all great pickups, but generally speaking, you are going to be seeing her in kind of the Word Bitch role. And so we'll have to see what the composition looks from here for Project Final, but Drow Ranger gonna be the pickup by WinTrain, which is really surprising considering the Tidehunter pick. Generally speaking, with the Drow, obviously you're going to try and see a lot of ranged heroes on a given composition. Generally speaking, the go-to offlaners with Drow are going to be your Pucks and your Furians, your Nature's Prophets. Oftentimes going to be the heroes you're pairing with the Drow, just because they're kind of the 2 offlaners that are ranged. You could, I guess, in theory, pick up like a Zeus or something, but Zeus, generally speaking, does not want to be in auto attack range, and so is not going to benefit really from the marksmanship aura, or rather precision aura. Yep, that's the one. So yeah, we'll have to see what WinTrain, the rest of their composition looks like. They could pick up an Invoker, who is still on the table. Project Final could steal that away. We did see Shady pick up the Invoker and actually did some decent work with it. So that could be the pick here for WinTrain. Visage, another really common counter partner with the Drow Ranger, and was actually buffed in 6.88b with the nerf, or rather the buff on the cooldown for the stone form. So we'll have to see how that looks out. maybe that's the hero WinTrain looked to pick up. But that being said, Visage is a very rare hero to see. We did see the Enchantress picked up last game. That could be a possibility here for the Dire side. Could also see a Chen, similarly. We could see a Gyrocopter being picked up right now, sort of a ranged core. Could see a Visage, like I said. We could see a... I'm trying to think of other alternatives. Could see an Oracle. Someone who's really low BAT, but not that much damage. We could see other ranged cores like a Medusa, I guess, but with the Invoker, very unlikely. We could see... Not really sure what the other alternatives would be here for WinTrain.
At your service.
But they're going to pick up the Windrunner. Okay, so that actually is going to be a safe lane draw ranger, along with the Windrunner picked up in the mid lane. Okay, so you know what? Fair enough. I guess a lot of teams, especially way back when the Drow Visage strats were in full force by C9, we did see the Drow Ranger picked up in the mid lane. But just to get her some early levels, get those max points in Frost Arrow as well as Precision Aura. But ever since... sort of, as of lately, when we see Traxxas, really, more often than not, is going to be in the one position role. Just something I tend to forget about. But we are going to see the Witch Doctor banned out from WinTrain, so another ranged support. Lycan going to be banned out by, or rather, Witch Doctor banned out by Project Final against WinTrain. WinTrain going to be banning out the Lycan. So, WinTrain putting the Radiant lineup on a bit more of a push strat, whereas Project Final, assuming, you know, another ranged support, obviously, but looking for more of a team fighter. And WinTrain, we'll have to see what they go for here. We could still see the Visage, which up against the Beastmaster could be a relatively interesting choice. We could see... could see like a Lena? Maybe? We could see still Chen or Enchantress, I think would work. Enigma could be a very interesting alternative here for this Dire side, and obviously Dire Enigma is pretty baller. So certainly could be the option that WinTrain are looking for, but that's put them on a decently greedy draft. That being said, not a lot of jungle farming potential coming out here from WinTrain. So we are going to see the Visage. Awesome. You know, Visage, a hero that we don't really see in pub play, obviously for, you know, reasons of both skill and team coordination. A lot of teams don't know how to play with a Visage, but this could be the play here. And actually, Visage might be on paper very good against the Beastmaster, as I don't think, especially the early boars, I don't think they're going to be able to take off the Gravekeeper's cloak. As, yeah, Visage should basically be able to shrug off any sort of damage that comes through. If you sees damage from a player, because I believe it does have a minimum damage requirement to pull off a layer. So that could be, you know, this could be an interesting lane composition here. Disruptor, Visage with the Grave Chill, certainly going to slow down the Beastmaster. And the Disruptor to bring him back with the Glimpse. Drow Ranger also going to be able to slow. So a lot of slows coming out here from this Dire safe lane. Could put Project Final in a bit of a pickle. But we're still waiting on that last pick here. Could be a Juggernaut. Could be the obvious choice. Could see a Gyrocopter of their own. But again, Gyrocopter not really an illusion-based hero, which is kind of why you're hoping for the Shadow Demon. They are going to pick the Gyrocopter, though. Okay, so going with more of a burst-heavy core, which, you know, Gyrocopter's certainly really strong in the early game. Vengeful Spirit with the burst damage there from the Magic Missile. Shadow Demon as well. Going to be setting up things with the Soul Catcher, as well as the Disruption. Going to allow the Gyrocopter to get in range of the Flat Cannon and the Rocket Barrage. So, certainly decent kill potential coming out from this Radiant side here, and Tidehunter gonna have to be careful. That being said, it is a Tidehunter, and so they're just gonna have to be careful about how they stack up their damage. trying to find kill pressure. But we'll be getting into the game in just a couple minutes. We'll go through the lineups really quickly. Good mate. Gonna be holding on to the Vengeful Spirit to play a really beautiful Enchantress last game. Was able to find a couple really nice kills. BPNP, moving from the Weaver onto the Gyrocopter. Ice, picking up the Shadow Demon. Moving back from the Ancient Apparition. Messiah, gonna be holding on to the Invoker, trading with Shady, who's now playing on the Windrunner. And Joha playing the Beastmaster. I'm certainly going to get crucified for this later. Meanwhile, on the Dire side, we're going to have JTT, this time picking up the Visage, so a little bit less roaming intensive than, obviously, the Earth Spirit, but going to be sitting at home a little bit more, looking to try and pick up those kills on the Beastmaster. True player, going to be holding on to the Disruptor, JFX, this time playing the Drow Ranger, a bit more of a safe core, Shady. Going to be holding on to the Windrunner, and Villain be walking down into the bottom lane on the Watermelon, the Tidehunter. Have to see what he's able to make of this game, if he's able to get some big ravages off, or if he's just going to kind of flounder. As the big lanes here, I think are actually going to be the safe lanes. Usually it's going to be the mid lane to an extent, which obviously it is. You know, it's going to be important. You're actually going to see Project Final do a little bit of a dodge here, as Ice going to lead the charge forward and is not quite able to get the grasp onto Shady. So, bit of a missed opportunity, a little bit unfortunate timing, but does result in them forced out of the jungle. Could lead to them potentially them being WinTrain, maybe guessing that a lot of the camps are stacked when they aren't. We are going to see a deep ward here, very nicely placed. I like this. Might have been spotted out, not quite sure here. But very nice, going to give vision to the high ground, very unlikely to get dewarded. But like I said, Project Final going to initiate a bit of a lane swap here, and Rune's going to just be traded off here. BP and P, they're actually going to focus on making sure Messiah gets a good block here over getting early Rune control. Which, given Messiah Invoker doesn't need really a bottle, maybe that makes sense. We'll have to see how that plays out as we move further and further into the laning phase. Obviously doesn't give XP now, so maybe they just figure having it on the Gyrocopter is a little bit more important. Early Rune, early Ward going to be dropped here, as well as the Sentry to protect themselves against getting picked up here. JTT going to push forward, and at this point, WinTrain going to realize something's going wrong here. Thunderstrike coming through, but the Flak Cannon already starting to do quite a bit of work here, as JFX is going to take quite a bit of damage. Disruption going to go on to the Drow Ranger. Stun not going to come out from Good Mate though, and it'll be a bit of a wash here as Ice blows some mana, JFX blows some health, and lane is going to reset. So with this lane swap, Beastmaster, who was most likely going to be really struggling in the safe lane up against WinTrain's tri-lane, should be in a bit of a better position here to deal with this Tidehunter. So we'll have to see how this pushes forward. Top lane, back again, JFX getting shoved under tower. A single pull, not sure how I feel about that here. JFX is going to take a little bit more damage than maybe he'd like, but it is going to lead to a lane reset here, as actually Dire side are going to pull the lane to themselves as well, and that should allow for BPNP to get a little bit more last hits going. Ice gonna throw out the disruption once again. Stuns comes through onto JTT. Ice, or Sunstrike rather, gonna come through as well, and JTT barely gonna make it out. And the Flak Cannon not going to be enough damage to pick up the Visage. So overall, very close, as JTT lives by the skin of his teeth, but is going to force him into a bit of a weird situation where he's not really sure if he wants to go home or stay in lane. But back to the bottom lane here. Juha is going to be pushing a tower, and actually back into the top lane. As soon as I look away, Visage is going to get dropped in an instant. Looks like it was another disruption. Soul Catcher, stun by Good Mate. Going to be enough to bring down the bird. And this could be the start of something very dangerous. Obviously, The one trade-off on running this sort of aggro try is if you don't get ahead, things could get very disastrous very quickly. But so far, looking pretty good here. Shady has brought Messiah, though, very low. But as a result, is also decently low himself. Does have Power Shot ready to go. But the 2 points in Quas this time from Messiah. Gonna let him heal up to a decently high level and might look to try and turn on to Shady here, who actually has pushed up on the high ground, but is going to retreat for now. Top lane actually looks like Visage going to be the target of the aggression. Once again, JTT going to take a rocket barrage to the space. BPNP, though, being dropped very low. JFX going to try and lead forward, but not going to be quite in range. And this is going to lead to a dead Disruptor here, as he will fall, yes. Shell Catcher onto the Drow Ranger, but certainly not enough to bring her low. As BPNP back to farming. So far, this aggressive tri-lane working out decently for Project Final. They're starting to pull away. Just a little bit, 3 kills to none. Still very early though, and the Drow Visage strat really comes on its own a little bit later. Especially once the Drow and the Visage are able to start pushing, once the Visage is able to get up his stone figures, or rather his familiars, that'll be when this composition really starts to move. WTT though wraps around, but is not going to try and aggress. BPNP though, going to get glimpsed back, and this might actually be a successful pickup here as BPNP is going to fall. Unfortunately, the Disruptor for WinTrain. Would have really liked to get that on the Drow, but instead just going to be content with removing the Gyrocopter from the picture for now, as this will allow JFX to start to bring back the last hitting advantage that she has accrued. And Joha continuing to take anchor smashes to the face. Ravage is online for Villain, but still, top lane. JFX going to get brought down by the Sunstrike. Soul Assumption is not going to be enough to bring down the Visage, or rather the Vengeful Spirit. So Goodmate going to walk out with the Salve and the Clarity, and will be looking to re-engage potentially, as Ice does not have enough for Disruption, but does have enough for Soul Catcher if they want to go again. And this is starting to get pretty silly here, as mid lane actually, Shady looking to lay a couple pokes onto the Invoker. So we're just seeing a little bit of a back and forth here, largely coming through the tri-lane, as Messiah still working to get his double forward spirits ready to go for any sort of engagement. As another power shot does come through, clips the Invoker. Well, bottom lane Villain farming up actually very well, most likely going to pick up a decent timing on the mechanism. And with the Anchor Smash should secure another one. Top lane, BPNP continuing to just farm up, going to take the Centaur away. But is going to get slowed up by the Grave Chill, and this could be very dangerous. JFX actually going to take a Magic Missile to the face, but now True Player going to be able to turn onto the Vengeful Spirit. She will almost certainly go down here as she does fall. Yes, JTT going to be next in line though, and is going to dodge the next Shadow Poison, but he might fall in the background anyway, as no, he will live. Ice also going to barely survive. So what could have been a monumental exchange either direction goes in favor, at least initially, for the Dire side, as WinTrain pull a little bit ahead off the back of that fight. Shady still trying to poke away Bethsaida, and yeah, WinTrain won about 750 gold ahead, as well as accruing a small, basically inconsequential experience lead. Vengeful Spirit, though, has TP'd into the mid lane and did smoke up, so she is unspotted, and this could be a play here onto Shady, as Magic Missile ready to go. Cold Snap, Magic Missile for real this time, going to come through, does not dodge the Sunstrike, tried to outplay him, and instead gets bopped in the face. True Player forced to rotate, but not going to be able to find much off the backside, and Visage going to come through as well, laying down the Observe Award to help out his teammate. So we're starting to see a little bit of fight in both sides, as neither team wants to back down. Funny enough, actually, both safe lanes leading the way in terms of last hits, and by that I mean both offlaners who are conveniently playing in the safe lane this match. As significantly more denies coming out from the Beastmaster, but Tidehunter, a couple more last hits to his name, largely off the back of the Anchor Smashes, certainly. Juha Just trying to poke away with the boars at Villain, but again, Kraken Shell means that the Tidehunter takes almost no damage, and any Anchor Smash that is accrued by the boars themselves will negate any sort of damage they're able to put out. Saya does finish actually a very decent timing though, 7 minutes, 8 minutes on the Hand of Midas. That should lead to him getting certainly a decent follow-up on his next item progression. Back to the top lane though, True Player in a decent position can get a glimpse or a static field off onto any of the Radiant supports here. Here comes the Windrunner though, and there's going to be a bit of a chase, but Ice did give it away just a smidge. And Glimpse might be in position here, not quite though, as Ice just a little bit too fast with the Windlace. It's going to speed away from the Disruptor. And we're going to see another rotation here. Actually, Beastmaster has come up, but it is going to be spotted out by the ward. And this is where JFX is going to look to back off here. But this is going to be a full-blown push. 3 points already into the aura, and that'll mean that a real substantial push can come out here. Roar, though, going to connect onto True Player here, and that's just a Disruptor, but that might be enough for them. As True Player going to try and cut his way through the trees. Not going to be successful here. Beastmaster left to die, though, and he will fall. As Drow going to be credited with the kill, and BPNP is going to be able to get the successful TP out. So Villain rotates through as well, and now we're going to see a bit of a counter push here. Coming out from the Dire side this time is WinTrain. Going to be happy with that exchange. Disruptor for a Beastmaster certainly in the Dire favor. His Focus Fire ready to go. Going to be popped. Fortification going to be unleashed. Villain does actually barely has enough mana for the Ravage here. Sunstrike going to be split 2 ways, going to deal almost no damage. Villain just continuing to whack away, and this is actually going to be a successful T1 here, as now he doesn't have enough mana for the Ravage though. Gonna pop his wand, and that'll give him enough there. But with a disruption, Tidehunter Illusion's going to dissuade any sort of aggression here from WinTrain, as they will back off. Mechanism almost complete on the Tidehunter. Just needs about 750 gold before that is ready to go, and Tidehunter going to TP himself to the bottom lane and look to finish that up. So Shady with the Invis rune might look to find another engagement here, as it looks like she's going to go straight for the Aghanim after True Player as well. Going to be content with sapping XP in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Visage in the top side. Still level 4, really needs to get those familiars up if he's going to play a big role in this matchup. Bottom lane, Shady. Gonna get the nice latch here. BPNP is almost certainly gonna fall. Does get the call down off, but not going to be in time as he does fall. So a decent rotation. Going to be bringing down the big core, who was getting decently farmed up actually. Still below the Drow Ranger, surprisingly, but has a decent chunk of gold to his name, and that'll help keep his item progression back. That being said, Roar going to connect onto JTT. Gravekeeper's Cloak only can do so much here, as he's going to get slowed up, and the Beastmaster should go down here to the Drow Ranger, or Shady, but actually is going to not get denied off, just able to get the right click through as Shady on the Windrunner. As I think I saw the Satyr Tormentor throw out the right click, but just did not connect in time. Well, actually, bottom lane, BPNP able to pick up one. Tidehunter does fall once again. So, unfortunate trade. Shady going to deny the mid T1, but that's going to open up the map quite a bit here for the Radiant, as Project Final might be in a decent position to start cracking this game open. Midas starting to pay huge dividends here for the Invoker, as Messiah will start getting a couple of items finished up. Joha gonna start pushing on his own. There are the Stone Familiars finally being summoned, and JTT actually going to smoke up with the Tidehunter. Shady not in position to get smoked up, but does join the fray here. JTT might be able to find a slow onto the Beastmaster, and that will certainly be enough to bring him down. Shady just runs forward. Latch is broken as the Stone Familiars come through. And the Static Storm TP back. Ice going to get removed from the fight here. On the backside, though, Beastmaster being brought pretty low. BPNP Ravage does connect just onto 2, though, as the Beastmaster going to pop the wand. Going to be brought back to about 200 HP. Goodmate going to swap himself to safety here. Shady will fall on the backside to the boar. And here comes Messiah now, ready to turn and fight. Goodmate tries to do what he can. And Familiar is going to pop into stone form here. As Messiah, not able to do too much, able to secure at least 1 kill here, but Goodmate might need to back off as he could be in a position where he would get brought down by the Familiars. So we're going to see a bit of a reset once again. Good team fight. Project Force, or Project Final, take a slight lead off of that, about 800 gold in their favor. But still, losing the Beastmaster, unfortunate. Not the biggest deal in the world, as a couple of the cores do fall on WinTrain's side. So a substantial loss for their end. And Invoker, starting to see the Midas really pay off, is sitting at about 6.5k net worth. Drums already complete off the back of that team fight. And he will look to push forward again. Game is basically reset, at least from a gold perspective. WinTrain still holding a smidge of a lead. As JFX now going to be brought under the tower. Roar is ready to go. Call down also online, but Win isn't. Goodmate not able to get the stun off, but the disruption does come through here. As JTT, Soul Assumption, not going to get thrown out. BPNP going to get the call down off. JFX is going to go down immediately to the Sunstrike. Goodmate next in line, though. Soul Assumption ready to go as well. Roar on to Shady. Windrunner in a position, gonna have the Lack ready to go, gonna connect though onto the Beastmaster, and Gush down for 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Soul Assumption does not have the mana for it, could pop the Mango, but is gonna hold on to it for now. Soul Assumption ready to go, 3 stacks, 2 stacks is gonna be enough to bring him very low, and that will be the final as he does fall. That being said, mid lane Messiah with the Forge Spirits looking to give the push going, and is gonna force a rotation out. Shady gonna be the one to answer the call here. But there's only so much he can do. That side, backside villain does run through. Gush is ready to go, but instead just going to look to throw out the Anchor Smash onto the Forward Spirits and look to back off here. So again, WinTrain taking a slight lead. And are starting to really pull ahead actually in terms of experience, which is a bit surprising considering the Midas on the Invoker really helping on that front. But the Visage finishing up the medallion, starting to get his core really online. We're seeing a bit of an older school build here in terms of the Windrunner, or rather the Visage. Moving towards the medallion, probably going to go for the Ags next, instead of going for a typical 4-staff. Messiah actually picking up the Disruptor? Disruptor caught out, pushing. And yeah, we're going to see Goodmate leading the charge here into the bottom lane. Gonna get some ward coverage. And the Beastmaster gonna throw out a couple more boars. Villain does not have Blink Dagger yet, did opt to go for the mechanism. And that will lead to a little bit longer of a time frame when they might not be able to take the fights they'd ideally like. JFX continuing to push forward onto his item progression. Looks like he's gonna go for a Dragon Lance. Juha almost done with the Necro units. And when that's ready to go, the push will be fully online here as JTT looking to pick up the haste rune. But might be caught out of position here as he's going to be able to haste away, but is going to get stunned up in a very big misplay here. But Shady going to get the latch. Just barely misses here. Goodmate going to throw out the wand charge. BPNP will fall, able to get the call down off, and that is going to lead to a magic missile to the face for Shady. Latch does not connect once again. As Shady comes through, Roar connects. But there we go, glimpse backwards. Villain ready to go. Gush comes through. JFX, Ravage going to connect onto 2. Ice caught up in the middle of things. Power Shot going to come through. That's going to be a dead Beastmaster. Latch connects, and that's going to be 2 dead. Shady going to go down almost. Yes, will fall to the Shadow Demon Illusions. So a 3-for-1 exchange, this time being picked up by WinTrain. And the Drow strat not able to pick up the Drow Ranger, and she's able to stay in the back of the fights, and that's really when this lineup comes into fruition. Magnum Scepter almost being finished up on the Drow Ranger, or the Windrunner. JTT still just has the medallion. Solar Crest could be an immediate possibility. We're going to see a Helm of the Dominator next. It looks like for JFX, who does have the Dragonlance completed as well. And then True Player sitting on the urn. Villain gonna finish off his tower and is getting ever closer to that Blink Dagger. Needs about 200, 400 more gold for that's complete after this creep wave. And so once this gets going, Ravage on cooldown for 90 seconds, but should be able to step up and make a couple big plays here. So overall, bit of a slower game in terms of just seeing a little bit of lull here. Teams not really able to continue pushing the tempo. Necronomicon ready to go, and both teams slightly favoring the push here. And so we're just sort of seeing a stalemate at this point. Gyrocopter, decent pusher. Beastmaster obviously really great. Invoker, really great at pushing. Shadow Demon, good. Vengeance Aura from the Vengeful Spirit, always helpful. Meanwhile, on this dire side, WinTrain, the Visage, going to be actually the crux. It's said that when C9 was running this strategy a lot, actually the Visage had the highest damage in the game, usually. And a lot of that was just off the back that Jackie Mao was able to just build for Blink Dagger and a couple of Agi items, focused mainly on just keeping the stat growth up for the marksmanship and the precision aura. And that allowed for actually the familiars to just go to town and actually, and oftentimes they were talking about how for the Visage, it was actually more important that the familiars stay alive than the actual hero, as the familiars never needed a stone form. They just have so much damage coming in from the Drow Ranger that any sort of negation of that is almost not worth it, as the familiar's just going to run circles around the Satyr Tormentor. Focus Fire going to come through. That's going to be a T1. Hadoken also connects onto the Windrunner, who's very low BPNP. Going to start rotating through as well. Dragonlance, Helm of the Dominator, also picked up on his end. Bottom lane, Vengeful Spirit, My Good Mate, continuing to push forward. But Disruptor waiting in the background. Villain, Blink Dagger ready to go. Ravage also online. So this could be a decent sized team fight. Shady, Focus Fire again, and unfortunately Project Final just keeps standing back, not able to really aggress into this team fight lineup. You certainly don't want to be forcing fights up against a Tidehunter, as the Ravage will kick your butt pretty heftily. So JFX is going to rotate back into the bottom lane. Looks like we might actually see a Manta here from the Drow Ranger. Could also be a casual Yasha. Could be an SNY potentially. Would be an interesting alternative. Shady going to throw out the Focus Fire, and this is going to be a pretty sneaky Roshan here. Sunstrike going to remove the sneak factor though, as True Player forced to earn himself up. But it's going to be a T2 trade for Roshan. Pretty typical trade, about even overall. Drow Ranger going to be picking up the Aegis, as we're going to see them rotate through the mid lane into the top side. Teleportation from Villain. Going to be enough to quell the push here, and Beastmaster push the TP home. Shady nearing what looks like a Blink Dagger. Could also pick up a Maelstrom here. BKB is an alternative, certainly. Force Staff, probably not the choice here, but could be an option. Would mostly be for dealing with like Ice Wall, Force Staffing teammates out of the Beastmaster Roar, the stun, the swap, whatever. But most likely we are going to see the Blink Dagger for the really aggressive jumps into the latches, into the shackles, and Disruptor still working his item. Probably we'll see most like a Force Staff next. Aether Lens could be an alternative. Aether Lens is pretty nuts on Disruptor, to be fair. Gives you, I believe it's 2,200 cast range on the Aether, on the Glimpse rather, which is, at that point, it's almost global. So bottom lane, actually, we're going to see a stun. JTT going to be the target of the aggression here, as JFX almost brings down Ice, and the familiars are going to start going to town. Vengeful Spirit barely lives again, as Disruptor going to be the only target that falls in this match, or in this engagement here. So JFX back to farming. Fortunate the precision aura not quite enough, as well as the marksmanship to bring down the Shadow Demon. But still, bit of a lead here for WinTrain. They've started to give that lead up, as you have to believe it's that Project Final are just able to farm so much faster, especially with the Gyrocopter, who is now starting to go to town on these Ancients. And with the Alacrity, these should fall fairly quickly. And on top of that, WinTrain sitting at about a 2,000 experience lead, but that's starting to become negligible as well, as Gyrocopter, with these Ancients completed, should be sitting on about 5,000 gold. Tidehunter gonna get lifted up. We're gonna see the EM or the Sunstrike combo. Ravage gonna come through. Messiah committing way too much to that. Villain forced to have the Ravage, so certainly a win in that aspect, but not ideal here, as you are gonna lose your mid laner. JFX meanwhile going to be pushing in the bottom lane. So Yule's gonna be the pickup. We are just gonna see the Sunstrike, or actually might have been, I'm sort of confused. Oh, the Tidehunter got lifted. Might have been from a Tornado. Tornado, yeah, because there wasn't a Sunstrike there actually. So Tornado coming through, gonna lift up the Tidehunter, but not quite enough damage without the Sunstrike. So we are going to see a big push coming out here. JFX going to lead the charge onto the high ground. Still does have Aegis. And Visage going to throw the Medallion up. 3 stacks. Shadow Poison ready to go. This is going to be the 4th one. And JFX has to be careful. That is quite a lot of damage. Roar going to come through onto Shady. Call down on the backside. BPNP actually in a great position to turn this around. Villain does not have Ravage ready to go. True Player going to be brought down. JFX is going to be hit up. He's going to go down almost certainly. Going to get disrupted up though by the Shadow Demon. Sunstrike is going to connect. That's going to be the Aegis. JTT next in line. But instead they're just going to turn their attention. Really want to make sure Drow goes down. And actually Villain will fall on the backside. It's going to be very close here as he's still just continuing to push forward. Cold Snap ready to go, but Villain going to be able to get the TP out. Sunstrike might still be on cooldown here, and Villain is going to make it home successfully. So only a 3-for-0 trade going in favor of Project Final. As once again we see teams really struggling to push onto the high ground. Game returns to basically nil after that, and Project Final actually take a sizable, relatively experienced lead off the back of that fight, and that's going to lead to another T2 in their favor. Wouldn't be surprised to see him just rotate back, and that might have been just a bit greedy for WinTrain to try and push up to the high ground without having Rapid ready to go. Radiance Courier falls. I don't know why, but okay. So Messiah pushing forward in the bottom lane. Aghanim Scepter ready to go, moving towards, I would guess, probably an Octarine Core. Shady blinks up and does not get the Shackle off in time. Very nice from Messiah to get the Ghost Walk off. So Shady, bit of a missed opportunity, wasn't quite able, might have actually been able to line that up slightly better. With the Shackle, could have gone onto a Forge Spirit instead, shackled onto the Invoker, which would have been just as efficient. And while JFX gonna dodge a Sunstrike, Shadow Demon gonna move on to a Glimmer Cape, it looks like, as teammate able to pick up the Force Staff, and Bioha finishing up the level 3 Necronomicon. So those are going to start doing work. Invisibility not going to be an issue, so Drow Ranger probably should not be going for a Shadow Blade. Wasn't looking like she was going to anyway, but still does look like it is going to be, not quite sure what the pickup is here. She's just going to farm up a couple more Ancients, so you know, about 1,000 gold. Shady continuing to do work, does have the Invis Rune ready to go. Smoke up is looking like the call here, is JFX going to finish off these Ancients. And then they're actually, oh, JFX, unfortunate mistiming there, is going to show herself potentially. But Visage, Familiars, scouting out, realize no one is in their jungle. So they're going to smoke up and look to try and find the Radiant side. Yoha looking like the first target. Shady rotating through. Is invisible, does not have the smoke. And wow, are you kidding me? 2-man Ravage, 3-man Ravage. Gonna connect, actually does connect onto the 4th as good mate. Gonna get stunned up. BPNP is starting to go to town though, and JFX is gonna fall. Villain gonna fall. JTT is looking like the last man standing as Windrunner has skedaddled her way out. Stun gonna come through, and Shackle is really dumb, but still Project Final able to take the team fight and start pulling away from this. Able to take a 3,500 gold swing off the back of that fight. Ravage was forced, obviously, and that's going to mean that's going to even be difficult for another team fight to occur on WinTrain's terms. We're going to see a buyback on the Drow, but swap comes through. Shady in deep trouble, going to get hit up with the Sunstrike, and the axes will be enough to bring her down. BPNP looking to try and pick up the familiars here, but is going to have to turn tail, glimpse backwards. And unfortunately, BPNP, that's a bit of a wasted opportunity. True player does not throw out the kinetic storm, or the kinetic field. JFX just going to have to push out lanes. Could be an Aghanim Scepter here, actually, from the Drow next. We'll have to see. Could be a BKB as well. But yeah, very nice Ravage coming out from the Tide, but just not enough. And BPNP really turned on the Jets that fight. Was able to put that new BKB to use, and with the swap, was in a position where he didn't take much damage during the actual Ravage. And so was able to turn around, call down, flat cannon, rocket barrage, just go to work. And MKB finished up, wants to be able to deal with the Windrunner, who is still dead. Okay. So JFX still just continue to push forward his items. While True Player trying to finish up, probably would look for a Glimmer Cape maybe. Actually going to get picked up by BPMP here, going to get slowed down, and that'll be enough to bring him down. 2 shots. Tower going to fall as well, so this is probably going to be a high ground push. As Messiah finishing up what looks like a BKB. Stun going to come through. JFX is going to get obliterated. And Shackle comes through onto the Beastmaster. He will fall. Villain Ravage ready to go, but the BKB is keeping him from using it as he's going to get slowed down by the Demonic Purge. Ravage is going to come off. That's going to connect on the 4th. That might be the turnaround. JTT looking to throw out the damage onto BPMP. He will fall. Villain still getting chased down. Shadow Poison going to be enough, but Messiah going to be able to find him. Shady blinks forward, going to pick up Ice here, and he will fall almost certainly. Yep, right click will be enough to do it, and that's going to be a wipe here as a 5-for-1 exchange finished up by Team Train, WinTrain rather, and that's going to be a 6,000 gold swing, probably putting WinTrain in the lead. Yeah, they're going to most likely off the back of that jump back down to 0. We'll have to see, as no towers were taken either, and Ravage playing a huge part in that. A little bit of an overcommittal there from Project Final. Shady blinks forward, Fortification comes through, Invoker down for 30 seconds, he might have to buy back. Beastmaster is ready to go, but still no roar for 10 seconds. Vengeful Spirit up again, does have swaps, so Shady has to be careful. Has been caught out a couple times, and they're going to be content just taking the melee racks. So they're going to look to back off here. And we're actually going to see a counter smoke as Roshan going to be popped up, and a very interesting timing here. Good mate. Going to push forward, does have the Force Staff as well as the swap ready to go. Level 2. Could possibly find the TK, or find the swap. JTT, Soul Assumption, starting to stack up. Already at 2 stacks from the Roshan. And actually it is going to fall, so that's going to be, I believe, no, just the second one. And they are going to be smoked up here. Beastmaster in a very precarious position here. They do see the familiars. Good mate. Smoke does wear off here. Tornado does come through. Is going to catch on to 2. JTT and True Player going to be the targets there. JFX wants to maybe try and find a bit of a greedy catch here onto BPN. As actually JFX is going to take out the boar, and that's going to reveal the smoke pop. So JTT back to just pushing the lanes out, and it looks like we are going to see potential base race of some sort coming through here. Ice going to sit back, but the rest of the Radiant side are just going into the top lane. And they're going to see if they can get a rotation back here. Messiah, BPNP going to be pushing through the top side. Meanwhile, the Radiant are gonna, or the Dire actually gonna be pushing through the bottom, trying to take the T2. So that might actually successfully keep their racks alive. Surprisingly, they aren't going for T3s mid racks and actually T4s potentially. So here we go. This is going to be the big call here, as we're either going to see a base race from BPMP and Messiah, or WinTrain are going to continue to push through. It's going to be ultimately a game of chicken here, and it looks like neither team is going to start backing off here. Invoker actually going to be retreating. BPNP staying through though, and we actually are going to see a base race here. Villain, Tornado does connect from Messiah, going to latch EP just onto Villain. Actually, I believe it misses here, and we're going to see 4 TPs coming back here from the Radiant side, or from the Dire side. JTT not able to get in range. Glimpse comes back though, and that's going to be a dead Beastmaster swap. Going to do what it can to save his teammate here, and Villain wants to maybe try and find a gush onto somebody. Slow does come down onto ice, and that might be the target, as they're actually not going to be able to find him. He will be able to get out. That being said, BPNP able to successfully make it home as Lane of Rax goes down, and a T3 tower falls in the mid lane as opposed to just a range Rax, or a melee Rax on the bottom side. So very lost trade here from WinTrain, as they blinked first and ended up paying the price for it. Game draws back to a little bit in their favor, slight dip towards Project Final. But I'm actually surprised that Messiah opted to back off. They could have potentially looked to force another lane of Rax there if they'd all stayed, but instead just playing it safe. Looking to back up, make sure their base is doing alright, since you can't win if you don't have an Ancient. Blink Dagger finished up by Beastmaster, Byoha. Let's see what his next choice is going to be. Aghanim Scepter, Refresher Orb, BKB, AC, Vlad's, all typical choices. We're actually going to see another potential base trade here from Project Final, and this might actually be favoring Project Final here, as they have a much better means of trying to force a base race. Yoha comes forward, Grave Chill, and actually we're just going to see them bypass the bottom lane and go straight onto the racks in the mid lane here. It's going to be very close, as the range, or the melee rack is going to be brought pretty low, but will not fall just yet. As Shadow Demon pushing the waves out in the bottom. Volker Messiah does have the BKB ready to go. I believe that's a 10-second. Yep, new BKB. Good mate, still working towards whatever her next item is going to be. Visage with the Ags. And the Solar Crest is going to be doing quite a lot of evasion, but that's also not going to matter for BPMP, who does have the MKB ready to go. We are going to see a smoke here from the Dire side, and let's see what path they take. Ravage ready to go, but does not have a Refresher Orb, does opt to go for the Shiva's Guard instead. So looking for a more maybe passive item, doesn't want to go all in on the big team fights, wants to be able to clear waves out just as efficiently. JTT actually going to run into the Beastmaster here, and the Stone Form is going to miss Disruption. Glimpse back, and that's going to be dead Beastmaster. So at this point, almost certainly we're going to see another push here from the Dire side. And let's see if BPMP and Ice look to try and force a counter push out, and maybe force WinTrain to give up on their push that they're going to receive here. As the gold graph starts to dip back down towards 2.5k, and basically at this point, 36 minutes in, game is effectively even. Villain pushing forward, wants to really continue this push here. BPNP, Messiah on the flip side, leading charge with good mate. Power shot comes through, but that's only going to do so much as well. BPMP pushing up on the high ground. We are going to see TP back, and here comes Disruptor, so Glimpse is a possibility here. Villain looks to turn, but BKB popped, and BPMP is actually going to lose the fight. Goodmate is also going to fall here, as Invoker are going to be the only one left out. Ice going to have to TP home as well, so that's a 3-for-0 exchange, or rather 2-for-0 exchange, as Beastmaster wasn't even in the vicinity, he just rezzed. 1,500 gold swung back towards the Dire favor this time, and Villain wants to try and push up again, try and break high ground for real this time. Maybe try and even get Mega Creeps. Hurricane Pike finished up on JFX, and that's going to lead to some global shenanigans. Messiah forward. Nice disjoint. Just gonna throw on the Ghost Walk. Wants to maybe try and pick up Shady. But instead, looks to just try and find the TP out. Actually, he's gonna start cutting creeps here. Wants to make sure that his team doesn't get pushed in. And that the tower is gonna do the most work here. As a decently small creep wave does come through, but that can get cleared out relatively quickly. T2 is gonna fall in an instant. And Shady on the Windrunner wants to try and push forward once again. BKB ready to go in 15 seconds for him. Ravage online as well. Shiva's guard up and ready to go. JFX, all of his items set to go as well. And it's going to be a big team fight here. This could be the game as Tornado does catch onto the Tidehunter. And the EMP is going to latch as well. Still has enough mana. JFX caught out of position here. Going to get ravaged up. Ravage connects onto 4 though. 3 rather. Backside. Ice going to fall. Goodmate next in line. Messiah doing what he can to turn the fight here. Goodmate still somehow living thanks to the Glimmer Cave. BPNP is going to town though. Shady not going to be able to stand the damage here. And JTT trying to survive is going to get brought down. Double kill for Byoha. And Shady eventually blinks into the tree line. 4-for-1 exchange. This time in favor of Project Final. So big turnaround here. And game's going to go back to even almost certainly of no buyback on the Tidehunter, but without Ravage, he's almost worthless at this point. So we'll have to see. It looks like we're going to see another push coming out from Project Final. We'll have to see if they look to go for Megas here, or if they just stop at the mid lane, or if they can even get to the mid lane in time. BPNP just going to clear out the creep waves with the flat cannon. Power Shot going to do what it can to clear out the creep wave for the Dire side. It's BPNP. Byoha wants to push up. Satanic gonna get popped here. Shady gonna get latch! And the swap gonna come out onto the Windrunner, but is gonna be able to Windrun away. No, gonna get lifted up by the Tornado. Cold Snap probably ready to go. No, not quite. Gonna go for the Ice Wall instead. BPMP though on the backline does not have Satanic. He's gonna go down to the damage. Can't stand up for the Millers. JFX is gonna do what it can to try and keep the waves cleared out, and Shady as well. Gonna try and push out here. GTT going to clear out the waves finally, and that's going to lead to a gyrocopter on the sidelines for 80 seconds with buyback. 2 buybacks forced, though, on the Radiant or on the Dire side as WinTrain forced to buy back the Visage and the Drow Ranger, which leads to basically a wash in terms of the team fight. Project Final able to pick up a small lead, moving to about a 5,000 gold advantage and a 3,500 experience lead. JTT wants to push forward. Shady wants to try and find the Beastmaster, but will not do so as Byoha does have Roar 6 seconds with the Necronomicon. This could be a possibility here. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Probably going to look for the blink. Shady actually blinked away instead. Roar does come through, and that could be disastrous for him as the Sunstrike comes through, and he's not going to be dodging nearly enough here. And Grave Chill actually comes through. JTT with the Boots of Travel going to TP in as well. Shady just going to run for his life. He does have Blink Dagger available. Is going to blink forward. Latch does connect. Windrun starting to go. And that's going to actually be a return kill onto the Beastmaster here as JTT going to Grave Chill onto the Necro Warrior and try and find his way out, but is getting chased by quite a few units. And Ice actually going to get a return kill onto the Disruptor here. Ice going to be very low though as a result, and Messiah might try and turn around here and try and get a push going. Shady blinks back. Looks like she's going for the Diffusal Blade, or rather the Desolator. Instead, wants to be able to finally take some buildings down. But sells that and is instead going to go for a Daedalus. As just a very unfortunate timing play is going to result in the Beastmaster going down instead of Shady. Villain still a long ways away for what has to be probably a Refresher Orb on this Tidehunter. JTT gonna call the smoke up here, and Shady is going to break a smoke here. After quite a delay, Roshan almost ready to go. Just about 30 seconds here, and it looks like we are going to see the group up just for that. As Hurricane Pike ready to go from JFX. And not sure what his next item is going to be. Could go for the Satanic as well. We are going to see Tidehunter pick up the Invis Rune. Ravage ready to go. Should he choose to throw it out? Villain actually going to get spotted here. Gem could lead to a potential turnaround. Villain going to get hit up by the Gush. And BPNP going back to town on JFX. Ravage comes through, connects onto Messiah. Latch as well. And Windrunner focus fire onto the Invoker, going to bring him down. BPNP turning, wants to try and fight, but he's up against 3 members, and he's going to fall. Good mate trying to turn and run, but Shady blinks forward. Glimmer Cape might save his life, but not for long, as he's going to force staff through. Teleport going to come out as well, and that'll be a Windrunner, or rather a Vengeful Spirit, making it home. Meanwhile, top lane, Racks are going to start pushed in, but we are going to see the rotation back from JTT, and that'll result in a lane getting shoved back towards the Dire, or towards the Radiant side, as the Dire side look to push in. WinTrain want to try and get this game cleared out here. Shady pushing the lane up. Still does not have the Daedalus ready to go, but JFX with the Manta Illusions and the Hurricane Pike should be doing plenty here. It looks like they want to just bypass the lane of Rax completely. Want to go maybe to the T4s. Not sure what their choice is here. They are going to instead look to try and turn. We are going to see the buyback though. And on the back side, Beastmaster going to fall immediately. BPNP going to throw out the ultimate. BKB going to be popped as well. Going to dodge the gust here. JFX going to be lifted up here. And Rocket Barrage going to go to town. JFX is going to fall. True Player going to fall as well. She is down for 80 seconds. No buyback. This could be disastrous as JTT is left in the base trying to defend. No familiars. 50 seconds. And that might actually be the game, as Beastmaster able to successfully buyback. Not quite sure what the buyback timer is on the Drow Ranger. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Shady going to do what she can to try and force the retreat here, as she's going to focus fire on the top lane. We are going to see a TP back, though, from the Vengeful Spirit. 4 staffs forward. Swap is available. Is going to successfully get it. That's going to be a canceled TP. BBAB about to wear off. Now is done. Goldmate ready to go. Does have the missile, if possible. Messiah needs to turn on Wex. Finally does so, but is not going to be in a position to chase down the Windrunner as she runs out. Meanwhile, Messiah going to blink forward, going to find the TP out, pops the Forward Spirits, wants to get the push going. BPNP going to get slowed up, or going to get disrupted up, going to pop the Illusions as well. True Player going to throw out the Kinetic Field, going to keep BPNP in place. Villain does not have Ravage for 10 seconds. JTT going to get lifted up. Messiah throws out the Deafening Blast and the Ice Wall to cover his retreat. Forward Spirits are going to continue to go to town on the range racks. And those will get cleared out. Meanwhile, bottom lane this time, base going to get pushed in for the Dire side. Going to force a retreat here, but it looks like Project Final want to try and turn onto the Roshan and try and secure this finally. Yoha blinks onto the high ground, throws out the Hawk, wants to try and get some vision here, make sure they're not going to get pressed on. Smoke coming through. We are going to see this is going to be the final fight. No buyback for Invoker. Gyrocopter. Beastmaster, no buyback. Drow Ranger, no buyback. Visage, no buyback. But it's going to be a little bit too late. Cheese picked up by Messiah. JTT continuing to push forward. Really wants to get something here. Villain blinks forward. Messiah not able to get the BKB off in time. BBMP going to get ravaged up as well. He's going to pop the BKB. Going to try and turn. Bioha going to get the roar onto JFX. He's going to fall. JFX in a bad position here. Drow Ranger able to pop the BKB. He's going to try and run out. Good mate going to give chase though, and actually might not be able to stand up to the damage here. JFX going to be able to drop. Shady going to get swapped up, and good mate gonna get latched but will not fall here. 3 down for the Dire side. JTT in line as well. He will fall. 80 seconds. 3 buybacks not ready for the Dire. Tidehunter gonna be forced to come back as well though. And now no prayer for refreshers. It's just gonna be the Windrunner and the Tidehunter trying to help out. Invoker not able to join the fight as well, as a 4,000 gold swing goes into the Radiant, but that won't matter at this point, as this is almost certainly going to be game here. WinTrain need to try and pull everything out of the bag. They need to be able to pick up BPMP here if they want to try and make this game continue. Shiva's Guard going to be popped, but that's going to do so little as Disruption comes through. Buyback onto the Drow Ranger. Vicious does have buyback, but has not done it yet. Finally does buyback. BPMP going to get latched up. He's going to be brought very low. Pops the Satanic. Going to go to town on the Windrunner, but instead going to turn focus. Wants to try and turn onto the Tide. Beastmaster is going to get dropped. Grave Chill going to be able to bring him down. Soul Assumption going to pop the Aegis. Tidehunter wants to push through. Villain wants to continue on to ice, but instead turns on to BPMP. Good swap. Good mate. Going to bring his teammate back. BPMP able to get the call down off once again. Shady going to find his way out with the run. JTT wants to give chase to the Gyrocopter. Shady looks to chase as well. Blink Dagger ready to go. Latch as well. Ready to go. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. Doesn't need it. Instead going to look to shackle up. There we go. Finally pops. Ice going to run his way out. Going to find the TP and will be safe for now. True Player not able to get enraged for the glimpse. And Ice back in the base needs to start dealing with these supers that are pushing in. T4 almost about to fall. Is JTT in a position to start finding the push with the familiars? JFX needs to position better in these team fights. Not going to be able to get the marksmanship war in the middle of the team. And that's where 90% of the damage is going to be coming from for this Visage. So a little bit of a misplay as the Drow does get picked up, and as a result, we are going to see a final push coming out. Even fewer buybacks this time ready to go. And this will almost certainly be it. 60 seconds on the Gyrocopter. Beastmaster ready in 20. And this should be Mega Creeps most likely. As, yeah, Villain going to turn his attention to the top lane. JFX going to go to town as well. Yeah, Megas are going to fall, but Gyrocopter, no buyback. This could be the end of the game here. As WinTrain going to push forward. Might look to go for the T4s. At some point, they have to start thinking maybe no buyback on the Gyrocopter. Yeah, they're going to start going to town. Ravage going to be popped. Only catches one, though. Potentially missed opportunity. Meatball comes through. Messiah got shackled up, though, on Good Might. So he's going to have to try and run back to the fountain. Shady going to pop the BKB, going to try and run away. Bioha going to get brought down. Power shot going to bring him very low disruption. Going to keep him alive for now. Ice going to throw down the demonic purge onto the disruptor. He will fall almost certainly. Yes, he does. Villain still sitting in the front lines. Does not have Shiva's guard for 10 seconds. Messiah now open racks, or open ancient rather, for the dire side. As JFX is going to try and run away. Shackle does connect onto Ice. Bioha wants to give chase as well. Axe is going to try and find the Drow Ranger. Blink up, ready to go. JFX is going to try and find his way out. TP as well. Going to throw down the Hurricane Pike. Global Strike's going to come through. Good might actually be able to pick up this kill here as Bioha is still going to town, and JFX is now in a very bad position. Decided not to TP out and will pay for it with his life. No buyback, 93 seconds. Meanwhile, JTT next in line. Cold Snap not on cooldown ready. Sunstrike is going to miss. Grave Chill with the movement speed. JTT going to find his way home. But Gyrocopter is ready to go buyback in 53 seconds. And as a result, we might see a counter push here again in 72 seconds. Drow Ranger down. Or we're going to see a reset. Not sure what the call is here. It's BPNP is going to back off, it seems. So overall, cooldown starting to be used pretty luxuriously. 1,000 gold to his name. Needs to start farming up quickly for that buyback. And is going to make sure he has the TP ready to go. Could pick up Boots of Travel as his next alternative. Not sure why he's dropping the Dragon Lance. And Bioha gonna start pushing forward as well. Buyback ready to go. On the Gyrocopter. Invoker almost ready to go. Just needs the gold as well. Windrunner does have buyback. Shadow Demon does have buyback. Beastmaster now buyback ready to go. Roshan still has a ways to go before that's ready. In the meantime, JTT holding on to... Who's this? That Messiah's Midas that was dropped on the ground. And Villain closing in on the Refresher Orb, which could be the sign of a finished game. Aghanim Scepter being picked up by JFX. And we are pushing into very late game territory as the game at this point almost even in all regards. Messiah wants to give the push going. Octarine Core finished up on him. And is just looking to finish the push. 2 lanes of racks down on both sides. Mega Creeps down on the Radiant, so they need to find a way to end this game and end it quick. Bioha sitting in the mid lane with Goodmade and BPNP, who does not have Aether Lens. Actually, Shady gonna get swapped here. Roar gonna come through, and Windrunner might have been picked off. Gonna be forced to buy back. And a disastrous play here for the dire side is just overextension, and this could lead to a potential base race here as True Player gonna come through the backside. Villain right behind him, and JTT as well. JFX, the only one who will not be joining our teammates, as Ice going to come back, but with the familiars in the base, this could be the last push here, the last hurrah. Invoker needs to start coming back if he can. And yeah, Villain throwing out the Shiva's Guard wants to get the push going in as the Mega Creeps start to flow into the base. Meanwhile, BPNP, TPN, Invoker joining the fray here. as Goodmate not going to be able to get the stun off onto JFX, but Ravage connects onto 2. BPNP caught in a weird position. Soul Assumption connects as well. Goodmate brought very low. BPNP Satanic is ready to go, and he's just tearing through the Dire side, able to bring down the Windrunner. No buyback for her, but buyback ready for the Gyrocopter if he chooses to join the fray. Glimpse is going to bring back him, though. Messiah caught in a weird position, not going to be able to stand up to the damage as JFX continues to lay it into Messiah. He will fall. Buyback ready to go. 99 seconds is going to be forced to buyback, though. And Bioha wants to try and finish this here as Windrunner down for the count. Messiah with the buyback. No buybacks on any of the Radiant cores here. Beastmaster the only one. Actually, Shadow Demon has it as well, but might not matter here as Gyrocopter wants to try and end it. They need to end it. 19 seconds on the Drow Ranger buyback. If she's able to get it up and going, this could be disastrous here. Refresher Orb is not ready to go, though. Ravage is not ready. BPNP gonna get stunned up. Soul Assumption gonna bring him very low. Satanic once again prop. True Player is going to fall. No, is gonna be able to make it out. Bioha gonna get pushed back by the Hurricane Pike, and he will fall. Beastmaster is down, is going to be forced to buyback. BPNP wants to try and turn. True Player is going to fall. Needs to be focusing on the Ancient, though. He's going to be brought down almost certainly. Yes, he's going to fall. No buyback for 120 seconds. This could be the game here. Drow Ranger could look to try and BOT into the bottom lane and just try and clear it out here. As Shadow Demon doing what little he can, but the Ancient already brought down to 1/4. And we're just seeing throw after throw here, as both teams not quite able to clear it out, but here come the Dire side. Villain still pretty low. Ravage 45 seconds. Buyback on the Beastmaster. Going to get forced out. Messiah forced to buyback. Still taking the gold penalty. But at this point, once again, it's really a question of who has the buybacks. And at this point, it's really just the Dire. Drow Ranger, Visage both have buyback ready to go. JFX does not have Boots of Travel, so that'll keep him from joining the fight necessarily. But JTT easily can join the fight with Boots of Travel. So Shady gonna start getting the laves pushed in. Messiah throws out the tornado, does completely whiff though, and misses the EMP timing anyway. So Bioha throws out the Hawk, wants to get the vision here. Tidehunter 8 seconds, 7 seconds. This could be when they look to fight is with the Ravage. Shady gonna throw the focus fire out. No, is gonna get roared out. Messiah super pushback comes out onto the Windrunner, but she's gonna pop the BKB. Ravage connects onto 2. Bioha caught as well. That's gonna be 3 down. Gyrocopter down for the count still. Shadow Demon doing what little he can. Messiah in the middle of 4 is almost going to get brought down by the Soul Assumption, but will be able to find out eventually. Shady turns around, does have Focus Fire ready to go, just needs to hit onto the Ancient. That's going to be GG. Game number 2 does go to the Dire side as WinTrain, in a battle of wits and late game prowess, take it away from Project Final. Very well executed on both sides. But overall, a 1-1 split. Both teams taking a win and a loss. Project Final moves to 6-1, or 7-1, whether WinTrain moves to 3 or 1-3 for their season. So WinTrain desperately needed the win, and fortunately for Project Final, not able to close the 2-0 out either. Would have been helpful for them going into the later part of the season. But in the end, both teams take it, and I think that's pretty fitting considering both teams played incredibly well in this matchup. So game 1, even though the scoreboard showed that it was really far out, I don't think it was that far of a match. And game 2 was just as close, could have easily gone to Project Final. With a couple more right clicks going right, or a couple mischances not happening, who knows. But in either case, game splits 1-1. Thanks for both teams. Project Final, you can find them on Facebook. WinTrain, not sure how to reach them. Have to check with their captains. But in any case, really appreciate them letting me tune in for this. Really appreciate you guys tuning in to my cast. Should be getting back into casting a lot more consistently in the near future. Have been casting all this week. Going to be casting a couple replays. Might have those up for streaming tomorrow. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section, or in the chat rather. I will have this up on YouTube later as well. You can find that on youtube.com/user/CBB692. The numbers not spelled out. And you can also just look up Call Me Coach, shown on the left hand side.